Hey there. Let's talk about two little words that honestly cause a ton of confusion in English. Has and have. They look simple, right? But they have this sneaky way of tripping people up. But you know what? Don't even worry about it. Because by the end of this, you're going to have these two completely mastered, I promise.
Okay, so here's the big puzzle. Have you ever really thought about this? We say, he has a car. Simple enough. But then, when we make it negative, we say, he doesn't have a car. Wait a second, why does has suddenly become have? It seems kind of weird, doesn't it? But trust me, there's a super simple logical rule behind this whole thing, and we're going to crack it together.
All right. First things first, let's get down to the absolute core rule. Who gets has and who gets have? Okay, so it all boils down to one thing, the subject of the sentence. Super simple. We use have with I, we, you, and they, and of course with plural things like the dogs or the students. Easy. Then you've got has. Has is for he, she, and it, and for any singular noun like the dog or the student. Now the only little tricky parts you got to remember are I and you. Even though they're just one person, they always team up with have. Just lock that in your brain. So let's see how this actually works in a real sentence. Check out the pattern here. I have a phone. They have a car. See? The subjects I and they are in that have group we just talked about. Now let's look at the other side. He has a bicycle. The boy has a new toy. Since he and the boy are both singular, boom, they get has. It's a really consistent pattern once you see it.
But here's where it gets really interesting. Has and have aren't just about owning stuff. Nope. These little words are workhorses. They have like at least 6 different really important jobs in the English language. Let's break them all down.
So, think of this as our little roadmap for what's coming up. Of course, we've got possession, that's the obvious one, but we also use them to talk about relationships, physical things like eye color, daily routines, things you have to do, and even stuff that's scheduled for the future. So much, right? Okay, this is what I think is so cool. Just look at how this one verb completely changes its meaning depending on the context. For owning something, it's I have a book. Simple. For family, he has a sister. To describe someone, she has blue eyes. And even to talk about how you're feeling. I have a headache. It's the exact same word, but the job it's doing is totally different.
And it doesn't even stop there. For your daily schedule, you might say, I have breakfast at 8 o'clock. But check this out. You add one tiny word, the word to, and suddenly it's all about something you must do. She has to study hard. That's a huge change. And then it can also be about the future, like I have a meeting today. So flexible.
All right, time to solve that mystery from the beginning. Let's talk about negative sentences. This is where we finally get to see that weird has to have switch, and it's all because of one simple little trick.
So, to make a sentence negative, you can't just stick not in there. You have to call for backup. You need a helper verb. And for has and have, our helpers are do not or don't and does not or doesn't. Think of them as the words that do all the heavy lifting for us.
Okay, listen up, because this is the golden rule. If you only remember one thing from this entire section, make it this. After the word doesn't, you always, and I mean always, use have. You never, ever say doesn't has. It's a huge mistake. Why? Well, because the word does is already doing the job of showing it's singular, so have just gets to relax and go back to its original form. Let's actually see this rule in action. It'll make perfect sense. You start with a positive sentence. He has a job. Now, how do we make that negative? We bring in our helper, does not, and watch what happens. He does not have a job. See? That has just flipped right back to have. It's the exact same for she has time. The negative is, you guessed it, she does not have time. The pattern is always the same. It's foolproof. Okay, so you've totally got negatives down now. The good news? Questions are going to be a piece of cake. Seriously. The logic is exactly the same. We just need to bring back our trusty helpers, do and does.
Basically, we can ask 3 main kinds of questions. You got your simple yes or no questions that start with do or does. Then you have negative ones like don't you have. And finally, the ones where you're digging for more info, using words like what or why. But here's the best part. The main rule is the same for all 3. You're always going to use have. So, for a simple question, all you do is take do or does and pop it right at the beginning of the sentence. Take a look at this example. Does she have a computer? And what do you see? There it is again. Have, not has. Because that little word does at the front is already doing all the work, so has isn't needed.
And what if you need more details?
Super easy. You just take a WH question word, like what, when, where, why, and stick it at the very, very front. For example, what do you have in your bag? Or when does she have classes? The formula is so simple. It's just the question word, then do or does, then the subject, and then our good old friend have.
Okay, wow, we've covered a ton of ground. So let's pull everything together into one final, super useful grammar cheat sheet you can use anytime.
So, for a positive statement, it's just subject plus has or have. Done. For a negative one, it's subject plus do not or does not, and then what comes next? That's right, have. Gotta remember that crucial point.
Need to ask a question? No problem. It's do or does, then your subject, and then have. And if you want to ask a negative question, you just start with don't or doesn't. See? Simple formulas.
And last but not least, for those really detailed questions, your structure is WH word, then do or does, the subject, and you finish with have. Honestly, once you see these patterns laid out like this, it all just clicks into place, right?
So, there you have it. You've got all the tools now. So let's put them to work. Remember that obligation thing we talked about, using that have-to structure? What is one thing you have to do today? Go ahead and drop your answer in the comments below. It's great practice. Thanks so much for hanging out with me.